With returns from injury on the horizon for two AEW stars and more, this is Wrestling Hub. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report for January 20th. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official, and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. Following his release from WWE in 2020, Matt Cardona has had quite the run outside the company. Talking about a potential return to the promotion, he noted on Busted Open Radio that he would need to be able to keep his podcast. Yeah, I definitely would listen, but I'll tell you right now, if one of those things where you can't do your podcast, I would say thanks, but no thanks. That would be a deal breaker. There would be no way if they were going to take away everything I've built with Brian Myers, something we tried to do in WWE, the major wrestling figure podcast. We pitched it to them, and they didn't want it. They didn't the podcast or anything to do with collectibles. I think they've since had a failing podcast network, and they tried something with collectibles. I've had so much fun with this, and it's setting me up for life after wrestling where I would never sacrifice that. I don't care how much money they gave me. If they said you can't do your podcast anymore, I wouldn't do it. For the World on GCW event, Cardona will be facing Joey Janela in the Hammerstein Ballroom on January 23rd. With tensions escalating quickly between MJF and Wardlow, Dave Meltzer speculated on Wrestling Observer Radio that a breakup could be coming soon. As he noted, maybe they'll do the split having to do with that match somehow. Like, Wardlow will cost MJF the match or something, because Punk should win. But MJF always has an excuse when he loses, so maybe that's when they do the split. They're at the point with the split where they really need to. It's been teased for 2 years. They probably are about ready to pull the trigger on that one. After making his long-awaited return to AEW, Jon Moxley would make his way to the ring where he began cutting a promo. A fan in attendance didn't have kind words for the star that recently returned from rehab for alcoholism. As Meltzer noted on Wrestling Observer Radio, he's walking to the ring and everyone's cheering him like crazy. And there's always one person. You remember when Owen Hart died and Bret Hart came back? I think it might have been in Atlanta, but the city is irrelevant where it was. Bret Hart comes back, people are cheering him, and everything like that. First appearance and someone died, and one person out of however many thousands of people there catcalled him. I just remember him telling me, I talked to him I think it was the day or two after this. It was right after, and he said, I had this great promo, and this one guy catcalled him, and it was these people don't deserve this promo. And it was it was one person. That's what it was. These people don't deserve that promo, and he didn't do the promo. Moxley wasn't like that. He heard the one person out of all these people, and he booed him, and he said, get this drunken piece of trash out of the ring. And Moxley heard it, and Moxley says, you, get out of here. And it's just there's always one idiot in the crowd. But it's of all the things to say on this day to that person. Speaking of Moxley, many took notice of his change in appearance, with him looking to be a lot healthier. Here's some of the reactions to these before and after photos of Mox. A few months ago, I was watching some Year 1 Shield stuff and was shocked at how Dean looked like a complete different person. Now he looks like SmackDown World Champ Dean again. He legit looks better than I've ever seen him. He is an inspiration to everyone trying to get sober. Back in October, nobody knew he was having the problems he had. But now with hindsight, you notice it. Wow. So happy to see him doing and looking so well. I'm glad I'm not the only one who noticed how much younger he looks now compared to before he left. He even looks skinnier. With SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair set to be involved in the Women's Royal Rumble match, this has her father Ric Flair excited over WWE's potential plans for her, as he took to his podcast to say, I'll tell you, the last couple of years have been absolutely phenomenal. They've done some damn good stuff with Ashley and Bianca Belair. I think the girls' battle royal was as good as the boys. I'm dying to see what they do with Charlotte. She's gonna be in it. After losing the Wednesday night ratings war to AEW Dynamite and having the brand overhauled with changes and firings, it's no surprise to see NXT is on a downward spiral in terms of viewership. For the latest show on the 18th, WrestleNomics reported that this episode brought in 587,000 viewers with a .11 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic. For the week prior, NXT 2.0 had 647,000 people watching and a rating of .14 in the previously mentioned demo. Their New Year's Evil event on the 4th brought in 685,000 viewers with a .16 rating in the 18 to 49 demo. Given his pal Kevin Owens recently re-signed with WWE, this had fans wondering what would be next for Sami Zayn. Many assumed Kevin Owens would let his contract expire this month and would be on his way to AEW, with him thinking the same thing about Zayn. Now it's been reported that Sami has apparently re-signed with the company. Last month it was reported by Wrestling Observer Newsletter that there was backstage chatter that Sami Zayn re-signed with WWE as his deal was coming due. Fightful Select has been able to confirm that Zayn did actually re-sign with WWE and is locked down for several more years. One person we talked to around that time said Zayn was kind of private about the negotiations, but that WWE made it clear they wanted to retain his services. While they were seen as having a ton of potential when they made their way to the main roster, the faction known as Nexus would quickly hit a brick wall and end up disbanding. It was reported not long ago that WWE was working on a Nexus documentary, but it was later noted that this project had been nixed. On the My Two Cents podcast, former WWE star Darren Young touched on the reason behind this cancellation. One of the reasons why, it could have been Daniel Bryan going to AEW, or it could have been, last May, me wearing my New Japan track jacket on the set of the filming that they invited me to. I didn't call WWE back, they called me back to be a part of this documentary, and I said sure, no problem. I showed up and planned it out because I knew they were going to ask me to take my jacket off. I wore it proudly, and as soon as we started filming, it's almost like you saying, do you mind if you take off your New Japan compression shirt? At the time it was my track jacket. I would have said, I worked very hard for this New Japan track jacket. You guys just inducted Jushin Liger into the WWE Hall of Fame. If this documentary is supposed to be uncut and uncensored, Nexus style, then let me be me. 10 plus years later, I'm not some washed up wrestler. I'm still active, and active with New Japan and very proud of it. I remember the producer saying no problem, you sold me on it. I also told him that I talked to John Laurinaitis weeks before we did the Nexus interview. He was checking up on me because he originally hired me in 2009. I told him I was going well, with New Japan and making moves. He was the guy that talked to me about possibly doing a collaboration. This was last year. Who knows what's going to happen as we speak, because the landscape of pro wrestling is so major. During this past weekend's AEW Dark tapings, Tony Khan announced that Eddie Kingston had suffered an injury during a GCW event. The injury has remained undisclosed, but the Observer recently noted this regarding his comeback. Kingston should be about 3 weeks, hopefully 3 weeks, I guess is the best way to put it. I don't want to give a timetable, because I don't know that anyone knows, but he's hoping for 3 weeks, and then back. Staying on the topic of returns from injury, Rey Fenix was involved in a bad spot on Dynamite against Jurassic Express where he went through a table and his arm bent backwards. Dave Meltzer would point out that Fenix is looking to make his in-ring return in the middle of next month. Fenix previously noted that no one is to blame for his injury, as he added that he will come back as a better version of himself. Recently, WWE cut a lot of people from NXT, which mostly consisted of Triple H's hand-picked staff like William Regal and Road Dogg. Despite these alterations, Ringside News has reported that the operations on the brand have not differed much. WWE slashed the staff in NXT, but we were told that the operation in NXT 2.0 wasn't really affected by the slimming staff. They have the same order that was instated when the change was made from Black and Gold to 2.0. The only difference is there are less people. With Mustafa Ali recently announcing that he has requested his release from WWE, a report has now come out detailing that the company is not granting this request. Those that Fightful Select heard from confirmed that WWE and Ali have spoken with each other and that Ali was informed that they would not be granting his request for a release at this moment, and as of now it isn't the plan. Ali has years left on his WWE deal that hasn't been used on WWE TV or even at tapings in over 2 months. While some suspected that he was out on paternity leave, we're told he'd only asked for 1 show off. After not releasing a video game last year due to the abysmal sales and reception for WWE 2K20, Brandon from BDE on YouTube shared his first impression after playing WWE 2K22. As he noted, "If I'm being completely honest, I was pleasantly surprised. I actually had fun. I felt that the gameplay was pretty smooth. I don't know how to describe it, but 2K22's gameplay feels very familiar, but also fresh at the same time." Rey Mysterio has been announced as the cover star for the title, as fans will be hoping for a better game this time around. One half of the Women's Tag Champions with Queen Zelina, Carmella, said on the Bear With Us show that she recently tested positive for COVID. "I got COVID. I got about a week and a half ago? No, 2 weeks ago now. Yeah, I woke up just not feeling well. Just really tired. Run down and took some tests and I tested positive, and then it was like a cold. It was kind of like a little bit worse than a cold. I was down and out for like 3 or 4 days, just not really doing much, but on the up and up, feeling better now." Corey Graves would note that he did not test positive, with Carmella not having wrestled since Raw on January 3rd. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.